Hey, good morning, Facebook fam. How are you? It's your girl, Neo Soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya. Back again to start a new week for the morning segment of Morning Tea with Mom. How are you? Let me see those thumbs up, those hearts, those happy faces. Let me know that everything is good. You guys are enjoying your morning so far. It is early, y'all. I just realized how early it was. It's early. But anyway, we're gonna get in. We're gonna jump right into this week's topic. Y'all get a chance to look at it last night. I put it up semi on time. Good morning, Vanita. How are you? What's going on, Queen? So you can't see anything. Why can't you see anything? I don't know why you can't see anything. This morning's topic. This morning's topic is being mother or father to your spouse. Is this more harm than good? I'm gonna bring my mom on, and then we're gonna elaborate a little bit, and then just dive on it. All right. Look, Gerald, doing this book, man. Why she reading so slow?
Morning to you. Good morning, everyone. How is everybody? It is a good day in my neighborhood. It's cloudy, but the trees are blowing. That means God is doing His thing. How are you? How you
Mama,
doing?
what's going
How
on?
you doing?
Oh my gosh, no. What's going on? What's going on? So
I gotta save my place. I gotta save my place.
you know what? We come on at 7:30 every morning. You wasn't ready. She
Yes,
wasn't
weight
ready.
loss. You gotta get it. You
Wasn't
gotta.
ready.
It's getting so juicy now. Yes.
She
Well,
wasn't
how's
ready.
who's with us this morning? Who's up bright and
What's
early?
going on, Kevin?
Kevin. Hey,
Queen
Kevin.
Vanita is on here. Nikki, what's going on, boo?
Good
Toriano,
morning.
hey King. So look, so look. Let's go ahead and dive into this topic, right? Because I'm interested to see all the paragraphs that pop up, and I'm gonna tell you my energy for this. Hopefully she comes on, right? Because she was the one who sent this to me, my sis. Asked my thoughts about it. So today's topic is being mother slash father to your spouse. Is this more harm than good? Let me tell you the energy that was behind this topic, right?
Yeah, please tell us the
What's
energy.
going on, Mardisha, my favorite usher? The energy
Tell us
behind
the
this.
energy behind it.
So I don't know if you guys have heard of Pastor Gray. So Pastor Gray, Pastor Gray posted. Well, he was actually in an interview, and I'm trying to remember who was interviewing him, but it was a group of black women. Not a group, like maybe two or three, and he made a profound comment and proceeded to elaborate on it. And someone actually saw it, reposted it, and captioned it. The womb is not a healing place or something like that. So um, basically, what he was saying was it's better to have a lid versus a covering because a lid kind of stunts your growth, whereas a covering allows you to be able to flourish and allows you to be able to grow into your purpose. And so he went on to say, which I was with him, I was cool, I was thumbs up on that part, right? He went on to say his wife had sacrificed and given up so much for 8 years for him to be able to become the man he is today, the husband he is today, the father he is today, the pastor that he is today, right? That she had given up her dreams, her hopes, and her dreams to basically rebirth this broken boy that was able to grow into the man that God purposed him to be, so that he can go on to be this person is well known. So if you don't know him, you're in the few because he is pretty well known. And so there were a couple of things that I observed when watching this video. the first thing I observed was he was dead serious. He was so serious. He was serious. And he said, now that, he has been able to become who he is, his wife, like he owes the rest of his life to his wife, giving her anything she want, anything she need, she got it, because of the covering that she had been for him. Um, and so then I observed the women, who were of African American descent on the sofa, giggling, cackling, uh, raising their hand, like preach, whatever, and basically just, um, condoning and accepting and agreeing with everything that he said. So I don't know if you guys have seen it. I definitely need you guys to check it out. Um, I was doing a couple of things, a couple of extra things this morning, so I didn't get a chance to key it up so I could plug it in here, because I don't have my cord and I don't want to get up and leave y'all. But I want to talk about that because that's what birthed my topic that I posted, because I did not want to leave the fellas out, as far as those who may be looked at as a father figure to their spouses rather than a spouse. So I want to dig into that because I'm going to throw this out there. Growing up, if you had the opportunity to grow up in a household with your mom and your dad, or if you're a woman in the house with your dad, if you're a man in the house with your mom, um, I hear a lot, especially from the fellas who have girls. It's gonna be hard for a guy to woo my daughter because of all the things that I do for her. So as a female, naturally, when you fall in like with a guy, naturally, for me, because of the fact that my dad was who he was and who he was to me, it was inevitable that I looked for those things, those attributes in whatever guy I fell in like with, right? Um, However, I don't recall um, ever looking at a guy as a father figure. Like I never looked for. So I dated, I dated older guys. And when I say older, I don't mean like much older, like Atlanta Housewives older. I mean like they were like, maybe like 4 or 5 years older than I was. She gave me the big eyes, maybe 7. We gonna get to her because she gave me the big eyes, and you don't wait till I jump out there. So maybe 7 years older than me. But I never remember or recall looking for like a father figure in them, like looking for them to protect me as a dad. I was looking for them to protect me as their woman, someone that they cared about, but not necessarily a dad. Um, and so this interview kind of disturbed me a little, because he made a statement about her giving up 8 years of her life, basically giving up her dreams, to rebirth him, to rebirth a broken boy, so that he would be able to grow into the man he is today. And so I posed this question um, because I am a follower of Christ. I do believe that the woman was created to be the man's helpmate, right? But what I struggle with is, um, were we created to be such a helpmate that our purpose um, bled into rebirthing a man that has been broken. So much so that the individual purpose that God has for us is on hold or halted. Is that the purpose? That our purpose doesn't start until we are able to cover our men enough for them to get on track with their purpose and flourish in it. And then only then at their disposal, because now they, would feel that they owe everything to the woman for doing that. That our purpose is able to start. I got some deep comments about this, so I want to let my mama start talking, and then well, let me see what's down here. Let me see what's in the comments because I'm disturbed, and I get help me, but there's some things that are a little iffy for me, and so I need to see what y'all talking about down here. Um, Mardisha, I do believe he was watching a Tyler Perry movie. Some people base their relationships on others. She said, "Be careful, you on Facebook news." And when church starts up, Queen, I have the eyes. Just watch out for the drops. Eyes rolling your way, but God got your back. Tell the truth, Monday. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, because you know now I have a platform and I can say what I want to say. Um, who I am. I just said this to somebody who was connected to my church family. Who I am is who I am wherever you see me. Um, so there is nothing that I say that I'm going to be ashamed about, even if within life there are things that God corrects me on. Um, there's nothing that I say or talk about that I'm going to be ashamed that I went through that phase. So if this is a phase and God has to, pull my curtail, then I let me be an example for somebody else out there who may have been feeling or thinking the same way. But I'm definitely like I'm a all the way pastor's daughter. I really don't care, about the eye drops and everything, because whether you're doing good, whether you're doing bad, they're gonna look at you anyway. And since I've been where I've been in every church I've been to, once people get to know a little bit about Lala, they drop in their eyes anyway. So it don't really matter. And I say that in love. I say it in love. I'm smiling. um, let me see. So you also say nothing like a father mother love. It lasts forever. So I need you to elaborate on that, sis. Vanita says, I felt like I had to be a mother to both husbands. That's why I'm single. I know that speaks to my choices. Also, why I'm single. I chose poorly. Um, Look at my quote. I said, I love keep it real is the best feeling of life. I second that. Roll away. Okay, no, that wasn't for you. That was for all the lurkers. I felt where your energy was coming from that. Um, so let's I need to hear what you think about I need to hear what you think about this with the new car he purchased for his wife, right? So he purchased her a car. Okay, so yeah, I need to know, because naturally a woman has a nurturing spirit, right? So I could understand that not being able to be shut off when she's dealing with her husband, her significant other. She's nurturing the children, um, and being in a household with the children and your spouse. Like, I would imagine that it's difficult to shut that off. And I'm just speaking from experience. It's natural for me to say, baby, did you eat? Or he didn't eat. I'm going to just make him something. Um, It's natural for me to say, to look at him and sort of read that something's wrong with him. And so I'm like, babe, what's wrong? Because I just have that natural nurturing spirit. Um, I have been in a position in a relationship before where I felt like prior to that, God had birthed some things in me, and I was full force, full fledged, going ahead, doing what I had to do, walking in my purpose. Entered into this relationship and had this nurturing spirit, and saw some dreams that this person had, and discuss them. And then before I knew it, I'm like, hey, let's do some research. Let's do this. And I'm putting in the lead work. And they were also, so they weren't just, like on standby, like, yeah, let me know when you got everything straight. They were putting in the legwork as well. But I was very instrumental in creating the platform and, well, creating the space for them to grow into who they ultimately would become. And within that, I do recall not diminishing myself, but not putting as much focus on the gifts that God had given me, that could have been um, relevant to them as well, us becoming a team. And I did not do that. I kind of like put mine right here for a minute because I felt like, yo, when it's time for me to grab it and go, I have the tenacity, I have the strength, I have the wisdom to do that. So let me help them real quick. And so I do recall doing that. Um, but I also, in my marriage, I feel like, um, if God marries you, and he's saying the two become one, there is something that I bring to the table that God wants to use individually and collectively, for the sake of the family and for the sake of the team, husband and wife. So I feel like I would do a disservice if I do put my ambitions, those visions that God gives me aside for the sake of Johnny, like my husband, being all that he can be, because being all that he can be um, involves me. So he can be, to the extent of his individual gifts. However, because God made the two one, being all that he can be requires me, and everything that God has birthed inside of me too. So that's how I feel. So it's kind of difficult for me to um, hear the statement that he said and actually imagine those women who are like, yeah, well, that's how, I keep it man. I could be there for them, baby. Like, if this is the guy, the man or the woman, for men, that God has purpose for you, um, you can't reach your full potential if this is the person that God purpose for you without their gifts too. You know, because you become one, and so it matters what they bring to the table. It matters what you bring to the table, and so not one of the other um, can stop or be halted or be stagnant, because you have to reach the full potential, and the full purpose that God has for you all collectively and individually. Um, and so that's how I feel. And let me see.
Are there any more comments?
Let
I
me
am
see. Let me
trying my
see.
best.
Um,
I
Somebody
I
said,
used to have a
sure, when your parent loves you from day one, it is very difficult to turn your heart over to any and everybody. Nothing wrong to have a care, love of a father. Just keep both on common ground. As we grow older in our time for one and another, we become more of each other's parent in love and support. Hey, Meaty. So y'all not trying to touch this
I
for
am
real.
trying
Like,
to
what's going on?
I have been trying to hold my peace. I tell you the truth.
I'm trying to hold back the Rottweiler. I
Quote
gotta let her
unquote
loose.
Jesus Christ himself. I tell you the truth. When I became a man, I put away my childish things. Quote, and I'll leave it up to you to go and research the rest of that scripture. The other thing
Wait a
is,
minute, say that again. I missed it. I was in the zone.
when I became a man, I put
Okay.
away my
Yes.
childish
Okay.
things. Okay.
Yes.
First off, I'm not by any means professing to know the entire package picture for Reverend Gray.
I sure wish I had my
I
connector.
do know enough. I do know enough to know that there were some issues involving infidelity. And I dare say, as a result of that, probably came this issue, this, not issue, but this situation that you're mentioning of how the wife stuck by him through all of this because it was a big explosion. It was a big thing. I do know that. I don't know all the ins and the outs, and I'm glad I don't. But I do know that when you when you marry, you're marrying a man. You know, you're marrying a man or a woman, and interchangeably. I do know that.
Supposed to be.
And I'm going to say this, and we've touched on it early in earlier broadcasts. Mothers, stop enabling your sons because they will one day be somebody's husband. Okay. What I've seen over the many years is a lot of, situations where mothers have crippled their sons to the extent that when they do, if they do get into a marital or a relationship, they are still looking for that motherly assistance. If you are not ready to get into a man woman or a relationship where there are two adults, then I advise you to hold your horses and to wait. God, and we're not getting into the gender thing with, I know today in today's society, there are many, issues with that, with the gender. However, I'm not even dealing with that. I'm dealing with the fact, let's say instead of a man, let's say an adult person. When you marry, ideally, it's to adults,
Yes.
grown up,
Yes.
grown folks business.
Yes.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
I don't know any other way to put that,
Mm.
but that's what we are dealing with. You do not marry to marry another child. You have children. You either birth them, adopt them, acquire them, whatever means you do that. To say to and I'm not going to get into right or wrong. I'm dealing with the fact that when you marry, ideally it's to adults. My mother gave me, I think, the best advice prior to getting married. You start like you can hold out. And that's the
My
advice I
mama gave me
gave.
the same advice.
I gave you the same advice. You do not marry. I didn't marry to raise a grown man. You can put it, fill in the blanks. You see my eyes
Go
twinkle.
ahead. I wish I had some stuff to throw at you over there. Wish I had some
I
papers and shoes and stuff. Go ahead
I
now.
didn't marry to marry a child that I had to rear. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So thing with Reverend Gray comes with a lot of issues at this point in his life because a lot has transpired.
Mm.
As I said, I know enough to know that there were some serious issues which were dealt with. And I applaud the pastors, well known pastors in the city, who have, in an effort to encourage his growth and his getting out of that place where he had taken himself. They've invited him, still to preach and so forth and so on. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. But when it comes to you associating whatever you've been through, infidelity, what have you, abuse, what have you, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I do know that there was enough that it was a very serious issue. And I know in my first marriage, I endured a lot of abuse because I really thought, because of my parents' marriage, longevity in their marriage, I thought, do or die, you're supposed to stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
Get your head bashed in, also patch it up and keep going. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was until I studied to show myself approved unto God, that my husband was supposed to treat me as Christ treated the church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
From the
And so
beginning,
I
not,
think
not after he grow up.
we let's not get it twisted in terms of the difference between planting seeds and nurturing. We plant the seeds, God does the nourishing. It's not our job as women, it's not men's job as men to be a father to a wife any more than it is a wife's position to be a mother to a grown man. And I think we get into, a lot of serious issues. That's where we need to revisit our scriptures, revisit the God that we say we serve when it comes to that. God, I don't recall any place in the Bible of God joining a woman with a child or a man with a child, in terms of marrying. He said man and wife and man. How? So, when you're dealing with that, like behinds, like hindpoxes, everybody has one, opinions. And so it doesn't surprise me, particularly in today's society, today's time, it's as if anything goes, anything goes.
Yeah.
But as for me and my house, when I married, I didn't look to marry a child that I had, to raise. I looked to have children, but not to marry a child, you know. And so in all seriousness, I see situations and marital situations where, yes, men are looking, husbands are looking for the wifey to not only be a wifey, but to be a mother. And that's where a lot of conflict comes, particularly when the children come along and you got a house full of kids, grown kids. Okay. I don't know why the sound keeps bleeping out, but anyhow,
We hear you.
let's keep it real. Let's keep it really real, as I always do. And that is, when it comes to marriages, a, a lot of the issues, a lot of the problems that evolve, that erupt, are due to the fact that you have immaturity of growth in terms of either partners, and oh, God forbid, if it's both people. She wants him to be her dad. He wants her to be his
And
mother.
so maybe we should stop saying that. Girls think it's cute. They be like, "Hey, daddy." No, he not your daddy. He's not your
No,
daddy.
no,
Stop calling her
no.
mom. Stop calling her
You
mommy.
if we learn anything from the R. Kelly situation, we're not even going to get into
Yo,
that.
I
Not today.
maybe we should
Not,
change the language and say, "Yo, that's my king." Because if
yeah,
I speak that into your life, then you'll
yeah,
continue to walk in
right.
that
Yeah,
path. That's my
I
queen.
don't even, I don't even like to. because that brings some other issues. Abuse. Any woman who's ever been abused um, ha, can probably identify where I'm going with this. To me, that's probably part of the problem, where men, and some cases there are women who abuse, thinking that they're your daddy. My daddy didn't even beat me like some women are being beat. You see, and so we've got to be a committee of one, and that's another term I use very often, because we've got to become more responsible as adults. Why do you think our kids are running around here? They're taking on the adult roles in the household, telling everybody what to do and what not to do, and what they're gonna do and what they're not gonna do. I'm not going. I watched several movies, Netflix, if you will, where the little girl that I'm not going. The family's going on a vacation. I'm not going. Really? You really not going? And children are taking on the roles of the adults because the adults have taken on the roles of the children. So, and even in the school situation, um, I had a number of cases where the teachers were trying to be hip. So they're doing, acting like the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and the kids are not respecting them. Because to the teacher, may seem like you being hip and you cool, you the cool teacher, but to the child, it's like, hey, we can
Are
push
you
her
one of their
over.
peers?
Or,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that issue, that's really, I was really, really, really holding back because I really needed to hear what our audience is saying.
I'm
Kevin, what did Kevin? Did
I'm
Kevin
still
leave
look,
yet?
Kevin quiet. I'm still
Kevin,
I'm
hi,
still
Kevin.
waiting. I'm waiting for one particular person to join. She must have thought I
Yeah,
wasn't gonna put it
yeah.
on for Monday's
But
topic. But
that's my take on it. When people marry, they marry looking for an adult relationship, not a child and adult, that sort of thing. That's not, no. Uh-uh. No, no. That's a no. Um, and because I'm seeing too many situations, and that's why I say a lot of mothers just realize your son that you're babying, that you're enabling by, spoon feeding him, is going to be somebody. And this is what I usually always told my school children. You're going to be somebody's daddy one day, if you're fortunate, if you're blessed. You're going to be somebody's husband. You know, you the man. You're supposed to be the one to go up under the load. When you marry with the idea that you're taking on the responsibility of another life, in terms of, the man is the head of the household, such as Christ is head of the church, you know. And the other thing is, just the responsibility of being that head comes, to whom much responsibility is given, much is required. And men or women who go into a relationship, wanting to be respected as such, then you got to do your part. It takes work. It takes work to make an ideal, to make a marriage, work. And that's the thing that I've seen in so many cases where counsel, couples, where one wants to dominate the other. This book right here, the best manual in the world. Very few people get a parent manual before they have kids. Very few people, really, really, now more than ever, but ideally, very few people see the importance of marriage counseling. I heard once another thing, a pastor whom I respect highly, he said, when his daughters got married, before they got married, he asked the potential husbands to write him a letter telling him what that potential husband had to bring to the table, how he was going to replace her dad in terms of responsibility, taking care of her, not as her dad, but as the man of the, as the head of the house. What are you bringing to the table? I thought that was the most beautiful thing.
Because I think as a woman, that's really what you're looking for when you're equating a guy to your dad. Not so much to be your dad, but being able to see how your dad leads the household. You know what I mean? And so when you think in terms of breaking away from that house that you knew growing up and attaching yourself to this man, you're not looking for him to be daddy, to be the one to help you ride a bicycle. Like you're looking for him to be able to lead the household like you've experienced your dad leading the household. And so that's the how you're equating, or that's, when I break down what I was looking for. And even when I was found by my husband, and turned my attention towards him, the things that grabbed me were, those things like my dad would, like, he would do what he had to do to make sure that the household ate, make sure that we were taken care of. He got his hands dirty to make sure, that we were straight. And so it wasn't does he come and pat my head when I'm feeling sad? It was like, he's taking care of the house. Like, my husband is he able to take care of this household so that, he's not leading us into destruction. He's leading us into the path that God has intended for our family to be on, individually and collectively. And so I think that somewhere along the line it got misconstrued. And so I posed the question: is it a cultural thing? Because we all know, it's no secret that we've experienced in our lineage slavery. And so we all know, it's no secret what that has done to the black man, and not just the black man, the black woman. Because after the black man was beat and skin ripped off his back, being in the fields, and he came back to the hut or the dugout or whatever it was called at the time, that woman was there to dress his wounds. That woman was there to basically hold him and console him. And so,
But still to treat him like
like
a
a
man,
man. And so I'm trying to figure
like a
out
man,
if,
not like a daddy, but
and
like a
and so
man.
that's the thing, because I feel like the oppressors saw the connection and the family in that. They saw the unity. And just like Satan is like, yo, I gotta break that up. If I can divide them,
By
then
any means
then I can
necessary.
destroy them, right? And so breaking up
By
the family, you
any
see
means.
that in the social services. Like, if a woman wants to be on, what is it, welfare, and they give them a Section 8 house, and they can't have a man staying there. You know what I'm saying? And so they have stepped into the role of a man. And so even if you entertain that thought of having a man into your life, you already are out of order. You're already out of order, because you're looked at as the head of the household, and you're not supposed to be. You know what I mean?
And again, let's not. And again, as I said, that situation that prompted uh, this topic. Like I say, it's the irony is, I a few months ago, about 6 months ago, witnessed this particular person coming to the DMV and preaching at a certain church. I admire the fact, because I so admire that pastor, and I understand. I get it. I get it. You know, you don't kick a person when they're down. And so the idea of him inviting him was to help him, which is what we are called to do, to reach down and pull him back up. But even in a relationship, a marital relationship, it's not for, I can do a lot of things. I know I don't need anyone to sanction me or to put me, elevate me. I'm elevated by God. And so I don't need anyone else to, qualify me. as the person that I am. The only one that does that for me is God. And thankfully, I had godly parents who encouraged that, who nurtured, who it's assisted in bringing me up, not nurture, because God, they relied on God to do the they planted the seeds for me, and God nurtured, did that nurturing. Again, we do so much discredit to our children, you know. Not, I mentioned boys because that's, according to the topic, pretty much, although you indicated both, should a mother, should a wife mother a husband, and vice versa, a husband, daddy, a child. The only other daddy I have is God himself. He's my daddy. And I don't need my husband to be a daddy. I need my husband to be a husband, a man. And so we do such a, we have to think about those things as we're training our children in the way they are to go. We have to seriously take it seriously, the manner in which we are training our children. One day, that little girl is going to be somebody's wife, maybe somebody's wife. One day, that little boy is going to grow up to be somebody's husband or in charge. You want him to be a man. And being a man does not mean, and this is probably another topic, it does not mean, little boys. If you notice, dads usually smile and chuckle at boys when it comes to the sexual thing. But when it comes to their daughters,
Mm.
they get all macho
That's
and
a
want to
topic
jump
for
out
another
there
day.
because somebody's treating your daughter like you have encouraged your son to do, to be. And so we have to really get on it, parents, when it comes to the training of our children,
So
both boys and
so
girls.
let me
We
ask you,
have
Ma. Let me ask you, because somebody said, what about the little girl, and I'll even go as far as to say, what about the little boy? But what about the little girl that grows up without a father figure in the household, so they don't know what that looks like to be a man? And what about the little boy that doesn't grow in a household where there is a father figure, and so they don't know what it looks
and
like to
I
be a
can
man?
identify with that because I had both situations to take place in my home. Um, One thing I found when my king found me, my earthly king found me. One thing he gave me some good advice. He said, um, "Trust me. First of all, trust me in being that image of a man for your son." And I did. And to qualify that, or to really put the cherry on top of the cake or the ice cream or the sundae, when my son went away to college, he wrote me this long letter. And that was one of the things that I so hate when my house fire, that letter was destroyed, because my son thanked me for loosening the apron strings and allowing him the opportunity to be a man. And I so appreciated that. I needed that, because as a single parent for a while, that's one of the things we struggle with as single parents, as particularly mothers, because we're jumping in there. And I used to play basketball, I used to play volleyball, and I was director of rec centers. So my kids were always involved in those activities. My son, particularly, because I say particularly because he, I saw, I knew was going to be in that role one day to head up a family. My daughter, I did the same thing. I learned I can do a lot of things. I can do all things through Christ, but be a man. I cannot be a man. So that was one of the things that my king, my husband, helped me with, by entrusting him with being, emulating and being that man figure, for my son. Against all of the odds, against the other negative things that he had suffered, the abuse and misuse and so forth, it was a good thing when you find a person, that right person, that godly person who can help in the rearing of your children. And the same as far as my daughter, for single parents, the advice I give is, even if you don't have in your home, in your household, that role, even when there's a missing role, the best thing we can do is to make certain that we uh, present for our kids positive role models. That's where you have all kinds of mentors.
Yeah.
You have all kinds of people who are ready and willing. Everybody is not blessed to birth a child, but there are many people who have that nurturing instinct, you know. And so that's what we owe it to ourselves, single parents, however the situation is, to present those roles, to make sure that those roles, those positive roles, are visible, are present, are our children are able to identify with those and stay on them. I don't take anything for granted. You don't just like teachers, like school, some parents, and this is the thing that they're dealing with now because they're used to just letting the kids go in the morning, getting them back at night. The teacher has a responsibility. And I used to tell my kids that, do you realize I spend more time with you than your parents? Because your parents are working. Your parents have responsibilities in an effort to take care of you. So we owe it to ourselves as parents to make certain to not just let them go like at a horse race and just let our kids go into the hands of other people, but you're still monitoring. And that's another topic for another day, as far as completely releasing, untying the apron strings and just turning a blind eye,
Because I
turning a
know for
blind eye.
me, it's very important, and people who know me know not everybody is allowed to influence or directly influence the Castro children. Like I am in everything, I'm in everything. My husband and I are so involved, whether it's in the school, whether it's in the church, especially in the church. Like we not just gonna pull my child aside in the corner and you gonna minister to my child. I'm gonna be right there with my hands on them, finding out, what it is that you're pouring into my child because it's important. So it's necessary for you to one build. I think we talked about this some segments before about that village. A village is necessary, especially in today's society. A village is necessary because you just don't have all the experiences that life can bring you to give a well-rounded picture for your children. So it's sometimes other experiences are necessary, and that's where you build your village, and you have that opportunity to build your village because you still have the responsibility to rear your children in the admiration of the Lord. So it's necessary that yeah, like we hold auditions, we hold interviews for people who have influence over our children. It's not, we don't just willy
Amen.
nilly like just let them go. I'm sitting in the back, listening to the G Zone Zoom call. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear what's being poured into my children so that I can either steer it the correct way or validate it. You know what I'm saying? Because these are the
And
gifts that
God
God
can
gave
attest
me.
to this, that I have, after my husband passed, after the dad passed, um, I had the responsibility, because my children are musicians, and my daughter who married a musician, one of the things that I've
He's the
always
baddest
done,
bass player, y'all.
I followed them. I followed them. And my
She be
pastor, whom
lurking.
I
Ooh.
love, respect, and I tell you, pastors, a plug. Kudos to Pastor D, Nuttall, New Bethel Baptist Church. I love him dearly. But I said, when I went to the church to cover my kids, I did not come there to join. Okay. But after sitting under his tutelage and listening to him, he won my respect as someone whom I entrusted the biblical studies for my children, my family. So, but even in church, because I know church folk, as a pastor's wife, I wasn't a PK kid, but I was a DK kid. My dad was chairman of the deacon board. So I know church folk. Been in church all my life, but I tell you what, I it was only after I grew up, left home, and I experienced the experiences for myself that I really started to understand, oh, this is what my parents been trying to tell me all those years. And so for my kids, it's kind of challenging for a grandparent because you go through certain things and rearing and training your children, but then when the grands come along, it's you're trying to help them avoid those pitfalls. And it's very difficult. I have to take my mouth up sometimes. I have to, just plant those
Wait a
seeds,
minute, you don't be saying
plant the
you
seeds.
talking about your grandkids? She do not tape her mouth up. Let me tell you, Mama gonna say what she
I
gonna
said,
say. I gotta
I
remind her I'm
said,
the mama.
I did say try
Ain't no
because
trying
it is
there.
very challenging. It is challenging. And I say to, there's always one in a group, in a family of kids, there's always one who's going to challenge grandma. I'm not even going to say who that one is.
I'm trying
But
to figure out who it is because every
let,
last
let,
one of them need to be
but
snatched.
let me tell you the beautiful part about it. The beautiful part about it is when you see the light bulb come on and that child that you have challenged gets it. It's almost like I got it. I got why grandma's doing this.
Mm.
And that's the
And
beautiful
they
part
do. They
of
do.
being a
Yeah.
Grammy. It really is. But the truth be told, we have a responsibility as parents to train our children, train up a child in the way he is to go, train up a child so that when they're old, they may stray, and they will. However, because of the seeds that have been planted, because of the foundation that's been laid, those kids will eventually come back to the fold and say, oh, like the prodigal son, hey, this is what my parent was attempting to do all those years. So, there are no fathers, mothering a grown man, fathering a grown woman. No, you need, I suggest some counseling, you know, along those lines.
Because you
But,
right.
and I, now I get it. I get it when a wife sticks by her husband, but you have to be careful with that because at the end of the day, most men, they'll accept it while it's being dished out. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that man does not want someone mothering. One thing my husband we we used to disagree on Mother's Day. He told me flat out,
He did.
because I'm looking to be showered as his,
My
Mother's
dad
Day.
was not playing.
Hey, even though I'm the mother of your kid, you are not my mother. That he told me flat out, and it took me years
I used to be
to
like, yo,
realize,
daddy ain't playing. Like, who
you
says
know,
that?
you know,
But I get it.
I am
I
not,
get it.
and
You
so
celebrate her
the
for who
flip,
she is to your children.
the script was flipped, and I started to realize, you know what? I'm not his mother. Guess what? He ain't my daddy.
Right.
So, and it wasn't a tit for tat as it was the reality of it. This is my man. This is my husband. This is my earthly king. This is the person that God put in my life to take care of me. And so it is what it is. It is what it is. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Hey,
So and I
wow.
can't believe we done already like ate up an hour. But like, and I knew this was like I really thought you guys were gonna go in, and I think
Yeah.
I want to bring this back again. I can't do it tomorrow because I got to let it sit for a minute, But when I bring it back again,
Yeah.
I want to actually
I want to go.
I want to post a
I,
video. I wasn't prepared to post a video today because I was in the middle of doing something and some of mine got distracted. But I want to bring the video on and let you guys see the clip of it. Um, but like so my bringing this all together is this somewhere along the line, and we can go all the way back as early as Adam and Eve if we want to, or we can go after the flood, or we can go as far up as slavery or whatever. We can take it to the culture thing or not. Somewhere along the line, the roles um, are out of order. And so I think I lost my mama. Hold on. The roles are out of order. And so we need to get back to a place where we get back into the correct order that God intended. And I believe that that is affecting, how we operate, how our children are viewing. Let me get her back on here. How our children are viewing what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, and because as I'm looking at even at certain points, that's all out. I'm trying to call her back. Even at certain points, you disappeared. Did you drop the mic and the phone? You
Are
dropped the
you
mic.
still?
You dropped the mic and the phone. Like, did you drop the mic
No,
and then
what
just hang
happened?
up?
I thought the whole. So I was off. You weren't off.
No, you was off. You
You
left
weren't.
us. You left us, Mama. I understand. You tried to drop the mic. You tried to drop
They
the.
must
I
have
couldn't
took
even
me
focus on what I
serious.
was saying. My mama was gone.
Look, that's spirit. That's Holy Ghost
My
spirit.
mama was gone. I couldn't even
Yes.
focus. I had to get her back on here. But so
Like,
I think that getting us back to a place where we're back in the order of things. And I keep going back to this whole reasoning of the pandemic, but um, it really is a reset for us to see, because now you're up close and in person with how your children operate and what they actually see and what they respect in the household as far
I'm.
as the roles. And so we need to get back to a place where get back to the basics. Like, what is our role? Like, women, I get it. Like, there are women who have had to step up to the plate, but I promise you, even if it's not your king, God has somebody out there who, because there are people who are father figures, there are people who are mother figures who have never birthed or donated their seed, to create a being, like, so there are people out there. If you get back to the root of it all, which is him, and allow him to surround you with those people who are necessary to rear your children in the right way, as that other side, as that other outlook. Like, if you're mommy, a single mother, or if you're a single dad, because our kids are struggling. Like, they see, and I'm a very aggressive and dominant female, right? And so my husband has to be even more aggressive and dominant, because I can't step on his platform. His platform is the king in this household. His platform is the man of this household. His platform is the father of our children. And so I can't. I just can't. As much as I want to be like, yo, I can do this. That's not my role. And same thing